Ready?
Mm.
Hello and welcome. My guest today grew up in Johannesburg and moved to London in the 80s, where he has lived and worked ever since. He started photographing at 13 and learned part of the craft in the darkroom of the South African Air Force. Today he is considered one of the most respected photographers, with work held in the collections of the National Portrait Gallery and the V&A Museum in London, among others. He is known for his large format landscapes and his portrait photography, and won the Prix Pictet in 2009 for his project Yangtze, the Long River, and that same year the New York Times Magazine dedicated an entire issue to his series Obama's People, for which he made 52 portraits of President Obama's first administration. In 2019, Steidl published The Meeting, his first book devoted entirely to portraiture. In 2024, you can already hear him. In 2024, a major survey exhibition traveled across Europe. And in September, this September, a new exhibition will be on show at FOAM in Amsterdam, the Netherlands. His work always moves along the edge between the visible and the invisible, between presence and disappearance. My guest was born in Tel Aviv in 1961. Find out with me why he became a photographer, what he dreams about, who he looks up to, and what his next projects are. Welcome to the Donkere Kamer podcast with Nadav Kander. Hi, Nadav. Hello.
Hello, Kat. It's a pleasure to be here and a pleasure to have you here.
Yeah.
But I have to say one thing about your introduction when you mentioned the South African Air Force. That was a mandatory 2 years. You had to do it or leave the country. So it wasn't something I didn't join the Air Force. I've never been an army person.
No. But it is where you find the photography spark.
Yeah, I suppose it's where I 100% definitely decided my life would be dedicated to photography. I think I already knew it, and because I'd already had a darkroom in my bathroom as a child, and because my father had been a pilot, I got into the Air Force, and because of my darkroom skills, got into darkrooms in the Air Force. So for 1.5 years I printed aerial pictures, but so much of my time was free, so I experimented, film and development, and it was a pretty informative time.
Yeah, it must have been. We are here in your house in Ibiza. What's so special about this island?
I like how anything goes here. There's no judgment, or it feels like there isn't much judgment on this island. It's been very international for many years, as everybody knows. That's a part of it maybe I don't like, that there isn't that much Spanish tradition left that you see. But it's a great island, and it's always been a poor island, so there's never been a hierarchy and class system here. And you do feel that. You feel that it's more evenly balanced. With the, I suppose, actually I have to take that back, because obviously incredibly wealthy people come here, but I think the actual underbelly of the island, the people of Ibiza, the Ibiza thinkers, I think are much less class driven.
Yeah. And is this a spot where you find inspiration, reflection, new ideas?
It's a spot where I definitely calm, where I slow down, I find it very good looking here, quite beautiful. I don't find much edge here. I haven't made much work here. When the rains come and it becomes much more atmospheric, then I have made work here. And I'm trying to think if one of the pictures is in foam, but I don't think it is. But there's one of my favorite photographic etchings I've ever made is from here, from this property.
Yeah. And, or does it mean that in London you're always busy? You're always working?
Yeah, it does. I'm either, yes, I'm always working on my work. I don't think there's a day that I don't do something linked with photography, even if I don't go into the studio, but most days I do spend a full day there. The last, I'm sure you're going to ask about it, but the last 3 or 4 years probably have been spent mostly with my archive, not making much new work.
Yeah. What does that mean, spending time in the archive?
In 2001, Michael Mack and I looked at all my negatives.
The publisher? No.
He wasn't then. Mack publisher came much later. This is before he was even Steidl Mack. He probably started Steidl Mack or linked with Gerhard Steidl in a few years later. But in 2001 we looked at all my negatives. And I remember him saying, what you've chosen have been the best work. He didn't manage to find that many extras from my banks of negatives. So when you ask me what does it mean now to be working with your archive, the book we made in 2001, I have to start this all again.
Sure, no worries.
You asked me what it means to work.
I will repeat the question.
Yeah, okay.
So, what does it mean to revisit your archive?
I think during COVID, my first reaction was to make the pause with those small little figurines in my studio on my own, which I loved making. But when things became more normal, when it wasn't as profound anymore, I started a project where I decided that I would like to scan everything from my negatives to add to the digital files that I already had, which would have been all the projects that people know of mine, the Yangtze, dust, whatever, portraits. So thousands and thousands already on hard drives, but I wanted to add scans of negatives so that nobody ever had to go back into my negatives. What I scanned, and I want only what's digitized to ever be looked at. Yeah, I don't want people going into the negatives. I think when you work as an artist, you don't only press your shutter when you know it's a good picture. You build a picture, you explore a picture. So one has to be entitled to not show what you don't want to show, except obviously a public really enjoys seeing process. So if it was to show process, that's a different thing. So it's not like my files, my negatives are in locked up cabinets or that I'll burn them or anything, but I wanted it to be known which are the ones I find interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And going back to 2001, when Michael Mack, who's now Mack Publishing, edited a book that I did called Beauty's Nothing, after the Rilke poem, we found very little that I hadn't already printed. That was in 2001. But after the pandemic, when I looked back into my negatives, I was really quite shocked how I thought I would find very little. But it wasn't the pictures that got better, obviously. It was that the world had changed. One's eyes had changed. I'd grown up.
Mm-hmm.
20 years, 25 years had passed.
And how did your gaze change or shift?
I think growing up, having children, changing, looking at different work, cycles in art change, photography is a totally different world to how it was in 2001. But mainly, I think probably back in 2001 I was much more controlling over an image. And after the pandemic, I was looking for more fruitful pictures that possibly had a naturalness to them. I'm not even sure, but somehow I found about 4,000 things that I scanned, and from that 4,000 plus everything that has been scanned, David Campany and I decided to look at all of it over quite a long time, and it's almost like we threw it up in the air and let it land on the floor and see what fitted with what. But this is a really big subject for me because I think naturally I take single pictures. I don't approach anything in a documentary way. I don't think about, I need to go to Kilimanjaro and photograph the people and its summit, and then go and photograph the people and its summit. I work like I work in the studio when I work outdoors. I look for atmosphere. I try and notice things that make a picture my picture.
But by revisiting your archive, you kind of noticed stories, documentaries?
No, I don't think so. I think in looking at my archive, I was looking again for single pictures.
Yeah.
I have to say passion. I don't know how else to describe it, but my passion with pictures is how they string together, alluding to feelings, to emotions, to a viewer finding stories. So I'm much more interested in a picture from 1995 linked with a picture from 2026. I say linked, hung with, or seen with, and then another picture next to it that somehow the electricity between them makes so much more than any of the singles. And I think David, hearing me speak like this, became quite charged with that idea of associations, of associating pictures with others. And the foam show, although it respects the projects I've done, is mostly about groupings of pictures, irrespective of the time they were taken.
Yeah. You say there's kind of an electricity between two or more pictures. What does that mean? Or how do you feel that electricity?
I think that comes from your upbringing, the suitcase you carry around with you, the metaphorical suitcase, your baggage, the things you have, the things that have happened cause you to look at life in a certain way. That's obvious. I feel that photography and poetry have a very close alliance when you talk about it in this way. And it's common knowledge that every human being who likes poetry or listens to poetry is allowed to take away their own meaning. It's sort of just naturally understood, that fact, but it's never understood about photography.
Mm-hmm.
It's always thought to be about something, and you have to be told what it's about. And I find that ridiculous in a way. So I'm never thinking about how a viewer will look at a picture while I make it, but I feel an artwork is only completed or valid under the scrutiny of a viewer. It's a bit like a triangle.
Yeah.
Myself, the mountain, and the viewer, or myself, the person in front of my camera, and the viewer. But it's always the viewer who has to bring their metaphorical suitcase to the picture and feel something.
So you need an audience, always.
How do you mean I need an audience?
Because you're talking about the triangle. So on one side of the...
I need a viewer.
Yeah.
I don't know about an audience. That sounds...
Yeah, for me it's the same, but
yeah,
a viewer.
Yeah. I love work of others when I view it, and I'm very conscious of hoping for viewers to take away something meaningful from my work.
And, well, with that triangle shape in mind, what does that viewer give you back?
Only the knowledge that they might deepen into art, that it might make a difference, it might keep them company, but I never particularly know unless somebody writes to me or
Mm-hmm.
tells me.
But when you photograph, do you have that viewer in mind?
Not at all.
No.
Yeah, no, not at all. I can't, I know what makes me alive to a picture, when a picture really, really works, and it doesn't matter if it's a portrait or a landscape or a still life, they give me the same nourishment and heartbeat when they have ingredients that make them interesting, on the edge, uncomfortable, beautiful. We're very attracted to beauty, but beauty on its own is pretty,
Mm-hmm.
and beauty on its own is really, really uninteresting. And although somebody might find it nourishing in the moment of seeing it, I doubt it would ever last.
Mm-hmm.
A bit like listening to music that you think is incredible and 1 month later you can't stand it. You need both. You can't have beauty without imperfection and expect it to have meaning.
And when you encounter an artwork that nourishes you, what stays with you, and what do you do with that feeling?
Oh, I don't know if I can answer that. It's exciting. It's so exciting when when a picture works. I really don't know how to describe it in any other way. It's so exciting. It's those pictures that I put in front of viewers that then might have a similar feeling. I don't know that unless I talk to them. And I doubt it is the same as the feeling I have. But when you give people the ingredients, I generally find I have an audience that is nourished, that loves the pictures, that the art has done some work.
Could you give an example of artist that nourishes you?
Oh golly, I could go for a long time. I mean, I know you Belgian.
No, don't think about my nationality.
Well, it's only because you're in front of me, and also you know that I love Dirk Brackman, Spilliart, who I only discovered probably 10 years ago and really love his work. Those pictures at night, a man walking alone, stomach aching, beautiful pictures that have that edge. They have beauty, but an underbelly. They're almost quite frightening, like a monk. Beautiful but frightening. Those are the kind of words, I guess, that I look for in good art. I also love Franz Klein, Barnett Newman, Clifford Still, Rothko, of course. I love what Rothko says about work, how he uses size and form to mirror bodily proportion. All of these things attach to the human condition. We think we're very original, but we all understand envy, vulnerability, lust, love, beauty. We see it slightly differently, I'm sure, each of us, but we all understand it, and we all realize the other human in front of us has similar feelings. So in a way, we're not original at all, and I think that's the power of art, to draw this out and to have you understand yourself better, or at least challenge yourself a bit more.
A mirror.
A mirror, but it's quite fuzzy. I think if it was a clear mirror, it wouldn't have enough intrigue. I think it's fuzzy, so you can't quite work it out, but it brings up things. And it can also be totally subconscious.
Mm-hmm.
You like a work, you don't know why you like it, but you like it, but it shows itself later. And I'm really interested in the work of art and how art changes and how the work of art changes. I think it's really important, and so important at times like this, where we are in this planet is in crisis. And of course, as things change so quickly, so does art.
And do you feel that you have to incorporate that feeling of crisis into your new artworks?
I might wish that I had the skill to do so, but I'm not sure that that's how it works. I think that I have a life where I'm looking at this planet in every form, as we all do, to varying extents, and I think it filters into my work, and I trust that's how I work.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody like William Kentridge, I'm sure, would have a much clearer pathway to making work than I've just described.
Yeah.
I find myself quite frustrating in that everything is really intuitive. So I have to make quite big decisions as to where I might go or what I might start without any knowledge if it will be any good.
Why is that frustrating?
Because it's never that nice to start work that then doesn't work out. It's not so much ego, maybe it's ego, is it ego? But something doesn't feel nice when you fail.
Isn't that always the case?
Yeah, but you don't get used to it.
Yeah, but I mean, if you work intuitively or not, I mean, failure is always difficult.
Yeah, it is. It might be more for someone who didn't do well at school, who was unbelievably frustrated as a child. It might be more so. Maybe if you...
And that is you? Are you describing yourself?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's me. That's me.
So, if I'm translating it correctly, art, photography helped you get out of that negative state of mind.
Yeah, you could say that. I think photography was the first thing I discovered I could do well. And I was about 12. And
It's very young.
I took a picture that people liked. I had a friend whose father was a passionate photographer, and I stayed in touch with him till he died 4 or 5 years ago. And on his wall, when I walked into my friend at 12 years old, he had this amazing picture, quite big, that he had printed. And I remember the feeling of loving this picture, but I can only think now that what I was loving is that how you feel with the picture. It wasn't giving you any information. It wasn't a documentary picture. It was actually 2 negatives in the enlarger, so it had a kind of allure to it. It had a depth to it. 2 pictures. One was of a graveyard, one of a man walking away. So it had this mood to it, somber mood. Mm-hmm. And I remember that feeling. And I think in that moment I fell in love with the picture married to feeling rather than picture married to information. Mm-hmm. And I think I've always judged photography and art in that way. The information in a picture does very little for me.
Yeah.
I have great respect for street photography, but I have no books on my bookshelf of street photography. The decisive moment is not the importance for me.
No, it's the feeling, it's the state of mind.
Yeah, it's the edge, that feeling of falling into dream, that where things are clear but not. I don't know how many of your listeners would know Dirk Brackman, but his work is very, very, very clear on that thing.
And is it the act of photographing that is so important and liberating for you, or the moment that you have that finished artwork that really enlightens you?
It's the realization that your negative or file is going to produce something profound or profound to you. So it's not the taking. It's not the taking at all. I'm very technically proficient because I grew up with very manual cameras. The Yangtze project is all on a 10.8 camera or a 5.4 camera. I learned to work quickly and well with basic cameras. And my studio portraiture, if you know that, is also technically proficient. I set up lighting and work for hours before a sitter enters a room, creating some atmosphere. But I'm not trying to lock it down. I'm changing the subject here, by the way, but so what? I'm not locking it down. I'm not locking it down at all. I'm learning what every aspect of that atmosphere, how every aspect of that atmosphere is being created, so that when the person inhabits it, I can very aptly and quickly change it to how it might be better. That's where the practice is. But what were we talking about? The taking. So I think the taking of a picture is very enjoyable to me because I enjoy the technical side of it, but it's also second nature to me now. I'm over 60 and I started when I was 12. So it's very much intuitive to me, that part. So no, it's not the taking, it's definitely the result. That here I have another picture that is unbelievably exciting. It's like that. Oh.
And because I want to circle back to your archive, is it that you somehow feel again when you see some pictures back from many years ago?
I don't know, actually. I'm trying to think. 4 years back, looking through it, there were a few pictures I'd go, oh, that would really add beautifully to colour fields, and I would work with them, and yes, I'd have that feeling, wow, here's another gem for me. But most of it was, this is a good picture, I'd like it as part of my collection. And really most of the 4,000 I've never worked with yet, I still have to. Because obviously when you scan a picture from a negative, it's very bland, it needs printing. So I've only worked with a few that David and I have found and are now possibly on show in the coming months with foam, and then travelling to China or wherever the show goes. It was interesting though, a minute ago, when I find something exciting that I went quiet. There's something about the quietness. I think pictures that are successful for me are alone and quiet. They have a stillness.
It's funny because half an hour ago you showed me a picture in the hallway here, and I didn't notice it at first, and then you showed me the picture, and it's a bit the same feeling, like it's there all the time, it's watching you, it's quiet, it's in silence, but it takes a lot of space, and I don't know, some invisible power.
Yeah, well, that's what's so exciting about good work, in the invisibility of it. It touches your psyche. It's not
but also
your
the positioning of the artwork in the hallway, at the end of the hallway. That's also really important, right?
Yeah, I mean, I've been surprised with that picture that it is quite unseen in its position, but I think a lot of that is the lighting of it, and it's its darkness in a.
But that's also positioning.
Yeah, but but I do like what you say about it. And I think my successful pictures are about solitude and aloneness or loneliness, subtly different, beautifully different. Those kind of aspects to the psyche, and I feel it's like steam rising off. You can't quite. It doesn't stay for long. It comes and goes. And that to me is so exciting when you can conjure that in a picture. And it's only because we're human beings that it's exciting. I don't think my dog looking at the picture will feel that. It's the human psyche viewing pictures like this that get the darker areas of your being lit more.
It's not only a human being, it's the human. I mean, it's very subjective. What you feel, I don't feel.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And because you're talking about solitude, loneliness, darkness, you mentioned you being more negative when you were growing up. And to me, you have a very warm personality, very social.
That's kind.
Warm-hearted. Is that a word?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. I feel warm-hearted.
So the description of your art, or art in general, or art that enlightens you, feels like the opposite of your personality. Or maybe you don't live that part of your personality in daily life. Oh, this is almost like psychotherapy.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
It's a really interesting... no, I just don't think you've known me for very long.
Yeah, could be. Yeah. It is part of
but
who
you
you
see,
are.
I might be it might be that how I describe what I haven't mentioned is that I think you're taking the words that I'm saying as being downbeat or negative, but I find great beauty in the aloneness, or in the quiet. I don't know why. It doesn't matter if as a child I felt alone a lot, but I seem to hit that note again and again of I don't know what, so many things come to my mind. Before you're born, when you're very old, but the quiet times, the introspective times, and I might be social and warm, and I want the reason we're talking now is that I'm hoping to a few people this might be enlightening. It might show them a new portal, another way to express themselves. It's the only reason to outreach and to inspire somebody else to make work that keeps them company.
Yeah, but in the first place, it's to, I don't know if it's the correct word, but to survive life, your own life.
Survive life and love it.
And yeah, surviving is a bit of a negative connotation, but I mean it positively.
Do you? So a way to nourish your life.
Yeah.
I mean, it's by and large, it's almost what I was put here for. It's what I can't tell you. It's like, it's euphoric for me when I hit that note and it's in tune. And that note that's in tune, when you put it with another note that's in tune, and another note that's in tune, which is what I was describing earlier as the associations of pictures.
Yeah.
You have music. I'm sorry I'm sounding a bit schlocky with that one, but artworks. And for me, that is the most exciting way of displaying the work that I've made, rather than the things that I wasn't forced into, but the art world felt I should do, like a series on the Yangtze, even though every single picture in that series is a single picture.
What do you mean by the artist world felt like? So they pushed you?
I think I think that before, or not, maybe Yangtze wasn't the first, probably Colour Fields was the first work I ever did that was meant to be a group of pictures. But that was very much because that's what you see in a gallery of photography, groups of pictures, somebody's project, somebody's subject. It's never been my natural. I approach every picture as a single picture. I might at the time go, that will be a great picture to be associated with Colour Fields, or I have another project, The Signs That We Exist. So sometimes I take a picture and I think that will go well with those pictures. But more and more, I'm enjoying extrapolating those pictures and putting a picture from that series with another, and I find it just much more exciting.
You say you were pushed to that work?
You're going back to that.
And no, let me finish. So besides working on your archive right now, where are you pushed towards right now?
I feel it's been an amazing few years as a project, working with my archive and getting my life of negatives and files in order, and trying to find groupings, which is where David Company was amazing, and to understand the work and understand myself because of the work better. It's been fantastic. I would love now, after Foam and the book that's coming out that Thames and Hudson are publishing, I would love to put this period behind me and go off and make some new work. And I very possibly will, in the spring, go to Greenland. And after that, I would like to return to the place I grew up and see what happens. South Africa, yeah. And I have a friend who I'd like to travel with there, if Nicole, my wife, doesn't come with me, and make a trip. And when I say make a trip, I will literally start somewhere and start driving and see what I see what I feel, see how I can make the pictures I make. Which is, in a way, quite frustrating, because it's very hard to make a decision which way to go, what to do, when all you're doing is looking.
Yeah. I'm just imagining why it is frustrating.
Because it's much easier if you had a strong idea. I am very interested in the Orange River and its history because the Boer War happened around it, and I'm interested in why the Afrikaners went to the north of that thing. Then I have something I can go, okay, I need to go to this place and I'll shoot that monument. Well, I don't have any of that.
No, but...
Same with the Yangtze.
When you know that is your process, that is the way you work, then it deliberates you immediately, no? That's how
you're a very clear thinking person. In a way it liberates me. It's still frustrating that you have to make a decision, but there is no decision to be made. You literally have to hire a car and start driving.
Yeah.
You're right, though. You are right. It should be quite liberating, but I've never got used to. I think also Yangtze was very difficult because I I would always have a driver and a translator, and they were culturally nervous and very much wanting to know exactly what was going to happen next. And that was incredibly hard. And I went 5 times to China, each time for about 3 weeks. So I think I've been quite scarred by that. It was quite tough. If you're on your own and you're just going to drive, then just drive. But you know, the South Africa trip, like, where do I start? Where do I head to make that work? So the only way I can think is I'll probably go on a walk to think about it, or a bike ride, and try and think about what it is that I try and imagine my way through it, so that I at least know where to start, and then wander.
Do you get easily infected by someone else's energy, positive or negative?
Probably. I'm not sure. Maybe you can explain that better, or ask me differently. How do you mean? What makes you ask that?
Because you were talking about the Chinese, their nervousness.
Yeah, because you don't want that. You can't be managing other people's insecurities and expectations when all you're trying to do is breathe and look and find. You can't.
But somehow you can also easily block it, I guess, because Kira Pollock, the former chief of photography of Time magazine, that was a tour. She told me that for the cover shoot of Time magazine with President Obama, you only had 8 minutes. And I guess there was a lot of, nervousness hanging in the air.
So, okay. I think the process of making portraits when they are like that is entirely different to what I imagine when I am on the Yangtze River or going to South Africa or Greenland. The one is much more introspective. I just need peace and quiet and time. When you talk about Kira, and I think with Obama, that was the second time I photographed him, and although it was 8 minutes, I think it turned out to be quite a bit longer. And I do remember Obama, his whole day, this is just interesting, his whole day was divided up into 10-minute segments. And 1 was to arrive and 2 was to leave, so that's why it was 8. That's what Kira's thinking of. And I don't mind 8 minutes in a way, if I've had 3 hours to prepare, and I wouldn't have embarked on it without that. The only way I can guarantee, or almost guarantee, that an end result will be interesting is if I have my preparation time like I described earlier, where I choose and work on lighting that I feel will show a person in an interesting light. Flattery is not top of my list. Interesting is more somehow that I'll show good-looking aspects as well as undercurrents of people. And it's no different with the landscape, which is why I don't really judge the pictures any differently. But the process is very different to doing portraiture, very different. And as I photographed Obama a few times after that, it got longer and longer as he got to know me, and a really wonderful, very smart man, and the only president I photographed that really understood the otherness in a portrait, that there was more to it than a flattering likeness. And I think the picture that Kira is talking about on Time he turns to the side and he looks down, and there's quite a contemplative look to him, and it's terrific. And he was pretty amazing.
Okay. So you talked about that otherness, or there was no time to talk?
We did speak of it. We did speak because, first of all, I always show my work to people. So I would have spent a minute or two showing prints to him of things I've done. And the main goal of that is that a person doesn't leap to the usual conclusion that I'm going to be somebody who shoots 700 frames in 10 minutes, click, 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 over here, look this way, do this, look over there, hello, smile. I want them to know that this is going to be something more careful. That's really important, and that I have their attention and they have mine. I also always seat a person or stand a person, but I position them with my hands, and there's something that locks you in together, and then the rest of the room doesn't matter. And I think you started talking about this in like how come you mind when people need your attention, like the Chinese driving and stuff. Well, when you're making a portraiture, I suppose I've got so used to it that I really have no idea who's in the room.
You're in the zone.
You're totally in the zone, and it's like a sustained stare that you have on a person, and nothing breaks it.
Is that addictive?
Is it addictive? I think portraiture is probably the most uncomfortable I can be because it's very, very intense. You really are looking incredibly intently, and you also know that a person who is subject to your sustained stare is feeling a certain way or vulnerable in some way. And vulnerability for me is a beautiful height, because it's really how we bond as human beings.
But you have a camera in between.
I do, and that's my what I hide behind. I'm looking through a camera, although my other eye might be open. But I stop and talk and direct. But I'm certainly not trying to settle or to relax. Relax is a very overrated word, especially with portraiture.
So you need that tension.
100%.
Yeah.
It's, I ask you, or I ask any of the listeners, do you ever rush to a cinema to watch people being relaxed? You don't. You want human endeavor. People pushing, people pulling, difficulties, beauty, everything. It's not, the last thing that's interesting, I think, is being relaxed. It's nice, but it's not something I want to photograph.
It's true, but when I think of being vulnerable or being vulnerable with you, then, well, for me it's not on the same height or level as tension. When I'm vulnerable, I'm not tense.
Sure, but that's just one other. I was using tension as another way that a portrait might appear or come across, and then a viewer will look at it and feel that that's what they are seeing, and it might address things that make them tense, and that's where it gets interesting, and you can't look away because you think you see something else, and then you see something else. I'm not sure it's actually the person in front of my camera or me or both, or always at the viewer, and that's why the triangle is such a beautiful metaphor, because it's actually all of us. What you're looking at is this sort of pot that's being stirred.
And it has always have to be in a context of assignments.
No.
For instance, when you are driving around here in Ibiza, or the woman we encountered yesterday in the supermarket, she had a very, very lovely open face.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have that thought, like, oh, I want to portray you, or is it really like, no, that's an assignment. That's your professional side, and I'm here to relax.
Sometimes, I mean, you know, I think I would like to have a context to. I don't think I would just. I mean, environmental portraits is not something that I've ever really done, mainly because 99% of portraits in this world are in the environment that the person belongs or was found, or so I've always stayed away from that and tried to take people out of context. So that's one thing. I mean, sometimes I'm feeling I just don't feel like photographing for a week because I really want to relax. Other times, like 2 weeks ago when I was in Toddy in Umbria, I fiddled with my camera every time we went out, just because I find it so relaxing to kind of look, to turn my eyes on and look for pictures. I might probably will never work on them. I'll process them and have a look, but they'll have to really jump at me to be included in this group that I call my work. But if I decided that I wanted to work on a set of portraits in Ibiza, I think I would probably need to decide that and then think of my equipment and then embark on it. I don't generally find something that happens in life and go, oh, I must do that. A storm might roll in, the atmosphere might become heavy here, it might start to rain. I might think, hang on, I think I could make something of the land, let me get in my car, take my camera. So there has to be a bit of impetus behind it, I think.
You have to be able to control it.
Control it. I think, I don't want to sound egotistical, but I think I have a lot of, for me personally, I have a lot of good pictures that I really like. And I don't, besides fiddling with the camera to relax and find pictures around that are all around me, because I'm in the atmosphere of photography at the time, like I was in Toddy, what I'm getting to is I don't photograph unless I think it's going to be added to my collection of good work. It's not like wasting my time, but yeah, I've got quite a high bar, I suppose. But I don't know about controlling it. I don't think you control nature or the landscape. It has to present itself in a way that I think will make a wonderful picture.
Yeah, but when you wait for a picture, you also control it.
Okay.
Right? No?
Well, if you take it and walk away from it, I feel like you haven't really done it justice. So I don't know.
Okay.
If I see it as control, I would think that is a bit shit. A bit, I don't know, a bit not respectful. I don't think it's as easy as that.
So you pay respect to a landscape?
I pay my respect to the medium of photography and to the viewer.
Yeah.
Not. It's not so much to the landscape. It's to the medium and to somebody who I'm asking to look at it, which includes me.
It reminds me of the foreword I've written in your book, The Meeting. That was a conversation between you and David Campany. And somewhere along that conversation you say, I don't tell stories, I make stories. Could you just tell me what you mean by that?
Sure. If I was to be a person who was very interested in, I don't know, the political regime of Guatemala or something, and really wanted to present it as a fire in my heart that people who might be interested would look at, I would then go like a storyteller and tell a story that is happening in Guatemala. But I don't do
like
that.
Like a photojournalist.
Like a photojournalist. And, you know, documentary is a very close relative to journalism. It's not for a newspaper. It's a wider gamut, but it's similar. And I don't feel like I fit in that. I make pictures to feel with. And so I respect beauty, and beauty is incredibly important to human beings, and it makes us feel good, and we're attracted to it, and I use it, but there has to be that other aspect to it. You cannot be born without dying. You cannot be beautiful without imperfection. Nothing happens without the other side to it. And that's where the wind blows for me. So it's not about telling a story. It's about putting something in front of you, so hopefully you make up your own. And I would never want to tell you what I am showing you.
So it's even more than making a story, it's giving the viewer the opportunity to fill the vacuum.
Yeah. You know, I do title my pictures because unlike, let's say, Dirk Brackman, who has numbers with his pictures, so that you really have to only have yourself. And I really respect that. But I also respect how I operate in a gallery, where I never look at words, just pictures. But when a picture does grab me, a painting, a sculpture, a photograph, if I then read about it and it's something well written, it gives texture and layer to a picture. And when something has other layers than what I first thought, it deepens for me, and I start to have a real relationship with a picture like that. And I love that. So I give people an opportunity to have some layer with my work, either with a title or a small paragraph, often maybe about process or something, so that they can deepen into it too, if they desire. And it also allows you to then have a relationship with a picture that changes as you change. And that to me is the judge of great work or not. And I've bought pictures before that I thought, I absolutely love this, and it's lasted 6 months, a year, 5 years, 10 years, but eventually it hasn't changed with me. My relationship hasn't grown with that, like a marriage, or it feels like that. And then other pictures, absolutely not. And that's why I love to use the analogy of pictures keeping you company.
Mm-hmm. In that regard, is it necessary or maybe necessary for you to get some feedback from time to time from people who bought your work? What?
I like to.
Yeah.
I like to hear.
But it rarely happens.
It doesn't happen a lot. But I like to, yeah, I do like to. To learn, I suppose. It's part of my changing, it's part of understanding. I don't know, it's a difficult question, because the more you understand what you do, the less you do it, I find. So when I started, let's say, on the Thames Estuary work, 2016 or something, it's been ongoing until recently. I've only just about to make a book of that work. As soon as it took years, but as soon as by talking to people and listening to people, talking to Nicole, talking to my kids about how viewers look at the work, it would give me okay, that's what it's like. That's true, or that's really not true. But as I started to understand what I was doing and how I was working with the river, it became less and less interesting to me. And I stopped to have the impetus to go, and I also didn't really know what I was doing while I was there. And then it's ending. It was a difficult project, that, because the Thames Estuary is actually, although it has the most incredible, rich human history, which is what interested me about this place that had voyages where people, voyages that never returned, unbelievable trade coming into England. It set love, loss, so many human conditions on a rich river that is now bleak, quite empty, and also a part of the river that is ending its journey, getting absorbed into the ocean. All of these things excited me from the beginning, and with that on my shoulder, I made work. I also had a scrapbook that I kept with me, only of pictures, never words, from Clifford Still, mostly paintings, Ben Nicholson, abstract, Franz Klein, Whistler. Whistler painted the estuary quite a lot, and I loved his paintings. And they would, when I would be lost on the river and really not know why I was there that day, I would look through the scrapbook, and it would kind of ground me again as to what that pathway was that I was working with when I worked on the river, which is very introspective compared to the Yangtze. They have in common, they're both waterways, but very little else in common.
Apparently water, the element water, is a recurring theme maybe in your life, is the Thames, but the Yangtze, and we are here on an island. This morning we were talking about South Africa and the Indian Ocean. Yeah, what is it with you and water?
I don't know, and I don't want to know much more than that if ever I imagine myself in paradise, it is next to slow-moving, dark water.
Wow. To me that is hell on
Really?
Yeah. I'm afraid of water.
Right. Well, I'm both, because my first memory of being really frightened was going in the Indian Ocean with goggles on when I must have been about 6 or 8,
that young.
and looking at the sand and loving it, but then turning my head towards the depths and seeing this, the sand becoming darker and darker until the blackness, and running out the water.
Yeah, that feeling.
And if you think of my colour fields work, it's all like that. Yeah. And that's how I, probably why I love it, or why I remembered that memory.
Yeah, it's that
by looking.
edge.
Yeah.
And the tension.
It's both frightening and beautiful. Mm-hmm. And we all have moments of both, of beauty, of fright. The dark is incredibly beautiful.
Yeah, but we as a species, as a human species, we run away from darkness. Collectively.
Well, I think because it's the unknown and because it's unsafe. If you go back to our beginnings, it's probably because it's unsafe. It's in our DNA. But so is the darkness in our psyches unsafe. And these are the parts that we don't like about ourselves, that embarrass ourselves, that we try and hide, that when we walk into a room we do not show, but they're equally beautiful when you look at it like that. So darkness for me is just incredibly luscious in that it's frightening, in that it's alluringly beautiful but frightening. But don't ask me why. I don't know. Maybe Dirk would know. What would Dirk say? Why are your pictures all so dark? What would he say? Don't ask me.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think Dirk needs the darkness to feel comfortable, to find some peace of mind, I know you don't like the word relax, but to feel at ease. The world, because Dirk also works at night, then the world slows down.
Mm-hmm.
I think that maybe would be his answer.
Yeah. I also think, as you said that, I remembered that I looked up in Greek mythology the goddess of dark, and it's Nyx. And she apparently was born out of chaos, the chaos of light. So when you think about taking away until all you are darkness with a little bit of detail, you've put chaos behind you. You are now with the present. Everything you see, it slows you down. So what you say, I think, is very apt, and I like very much.
Do you know in French, it's a saying, entre chien et loup, and it means between dogs and wolves? Do you know that?
No.
Well, it's that time of the day when, just before darkness, just that moment, that you find that last spark of light, and it seems like the world stands still, but a minute later it's dark.
It's dark, yeah.
So there's a lot of light entre chien et loup, and then suddenly, bam! That is such an incredible moment.
In English you call it the gloaming.
Yeah.
That last. And often when I'm printing, I think, could I read a book in that light? And if I could, it's not dark enough.
Yeah.
And also, I also find it refreshing in a world now that wants to hide its darkness all the time by things being seemingly happy, or there's a lot of truth in
when you were talking about our darkness, I was thinking about people who they're waiting for the bus or the train, and because they are afraid to be with themselves, to just stand there and wait, and then they get themselves distracted by their phone. To me, that's also running away from your own darkness, although that darkness doesn't have to be negative. It's just the waiting.
It really is just the way it is.
Yeah. And now I'm thinking about you, and you told me that you are a cyclist, and now you're gonna say no, I'm not. But I was wondering, because cycling to me is just meditation, and it's meditation because I think to me it's just the moment I don't have that much thoughts or worries or whatever. But do you see any comparison between cycling and photographing?
When you describe it the way you describe cycling is for you, it's exactly how it is for me when I am printing a picture or photographing a picture. Because you're so beautifully single-minded, and that is what meditation is. The great monk Thich Nhat Hanh would always say, you don't need to sit to meditate. You just need to only do one thing. And he'd be quite funny about it. He'd say, if you want to drive your car, but only drive your car. Or go on a bus, but don't talk as well. Just be on the bus. That's a meditation. And I find working, especially very early in the morning, on pictures, whether it's in a darkroom or on a computer screen, my favorite thing to do in the whole world. You can take Ibiza, anything. There's nothing more pleasurable than listening to the right music, there's no right music. Listening to the music I feel is part of the process, and working on pictures. I absolutely love it. And again it's alone. It's alone and quiet, and before most people are woken up.
Yeah. But you are, in a way, just skipping my question.
What was your question? No, I'm not. I'm not meaning to. Ask again then.
No, I was wondering if there is a comparison between cycling and photographing, and why I am asking you this is because you said, there's a kind of frustrating part of the photographic process when you're not working on assignment, not working on portraiture, but when you go to South Africa or Greenland and you have to find that feeling. It's also a moment of being not at ease, feeling a bit frustrating. And yesterday you were talking about cycling. Wow, and it's difficult and it's hard and the elevation, and I just want to drink a coffee, and so that's why I was wondering, but maybe it doesn't go anywhere.
No. I don't. I don't. I don't. I don't know if it's because I'm competitive, but I don't think so. But I'm not somebody who needs to have great physical challenges. So often cycling is that for me because I'm a big guy and gravity and cycling isn't, the one pushes against the other. So no, I don't find a lot of. They're different. The one I'm just complaining. The other one is the decision making of how to start a project is hard. You know, when you finish a project, there's such elation, or while you are enjoying a project. When you start to close the book on a project, like I said, you start to understand it. You realize it's ending. You go into a hole, and that hole is fucking difficult. It's hard. That hole is hard to climb out of. And I suppose going to South Africa, let's say it's South Africa or Greenland, I'm in that hole. And I have to find a way of climbing out of that so that I take a picture where I go, this one is going to work. Now, what else will? And will they work together or not? And then you're off. But it's that coming out of that hole is, for me, the hardest thing, because my work is so intuitive. If I was like Taryn Simon or something, whose work I respect very much, everything is sorted out before the photographing part of it. I'm absolutely the opposite of that. So if I was writing a book, I would just start writing. But then later I might say, okay, that paragraph maybe comes after this paragraph, and hang on, I need another chapter here. But to start, I'd have to just start. And that's
it doesn't
hard.
get any
Easier? No. It really doesn't. I suppose your acceptance that it doesn't get easier is the only easier part.
Yeah.
But it doesn't get easier. And I also always caution people that come to me with work that it's not about your hardship that you must show me. I don't care if you had to climb a tree to get away from the elephant because you were going to get killed, and then you took the picture, and now I must love that picture because you were nearly killed. No,
that's
all about
the
the
storytelling.
picture.
Yeah.
That's the storytelling.
Yeah. My final question is about your amazing wife, Nicole. I was wondering, because you talked about the triangle, is she always part of the triangle? Do you discuss work first with her as a viewer?
No, not first. I think I only talk to Nicole. I show Nicole work, but not too often. I show her work when I feel I have enough meat on the bone to talk about. And she's very concise, economical with her words, and they are incredibly often, most likely, bang on. She's an incredible partner to me and a partner to my journey in photography, although we don't work together. We used to.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, before we had children we did. We were absolutely 24 hours a day together. So now not. But she has a way of changing with life very fluidly, and keeps me.
And you change with her?
Yeah, she's been incredibly important to my journey. And you're right, she is amazing. And I feel like I could appreciate her even more than I do.
And when you, because you said, well, maybe she accompanies me when I go to South Africa. Is that could that be a crucial component? Sorry.
I think if she did, the work would take a different journey in a way that if I went with you, it would take a different, and if I go alone, it will be different.
Yeah.
So I can't really answer that,
No.
but I know it would be rich for the experience together. And the only reason I said it, because I wouldn't dream of, I was going to say I wouldn't dream of taking her to Greenland, but actually I would, because her involvement in climate conscious actions and climate science is so important to her that actually Greenland might be a great place, as it's really the epicenter of the science with the planet. So with climate changing, so she might come, and it might be amazing, but she tends to be very busy and also doesn't like to be a spare part, as she would say, in a wheel that's turning. So it might happen, it might not. And South Africa would be amazing because we both grew up there.
Mm-hmm.
So to return there would be interesting together.
You were mentioning Nicole's ecological concerns. Is that also impacting your work?
It impacts my work in that I'm wondering how I can be of service in that respect, as it's possibly and probably the most important thing that is going on at this time. So what the hell am I doing if I'm not of service to that? That's a big part.
Mm-hmm.
Again, because I think I'm conscious of that, it will come into my work. I just have to make sure it's not too subtle to be noticed.
What do you mean by that?
I must just make sure that it's not too subtle to be noticed, too under the current of the work.
Too poetic.
I don't know. If I'm just feeling it, but it's not
crossing.
Yeah, or at least part of the layering that might be written about the work or whatever. If it's being missed, there's no point.
No.
But I find it hard, again, as I don't approach things from a documentary point of view. I haven't come up with an idea yet of how I could weave the climate emergency into my work that would still be my work. Yes, I can go to protests and do portraits of protesters, but that will be an act of knowledge giving, of reportage, of documentary. It's kind of not what I do. So I'm looking for, what do I do that will be of service to our planet as well.
Yeah, but that will not yet be seen from September.
Well, a lot was spoken in my studio with David and me when we were forming that show, and they're parts of that. Everything in our generation is connected. The bombs, the Russian program to find the nuclear bomb, the same as America dropped on Hiroshima, Japan. That Project Dust. There were pictures I took of stillborn babies with incredible deformities because of the radiation of that. Everything is connected to climate, to where we have become, not to where we have, to what we have become. It's for another podcast, but everything is connected. And if you walk into the foam show with a heavy heart towards the planet as it is, there are pictures there that will resonate, that will say, hey, here is somebody who's with you. Here is somebody that is not trying to brighten you up, not change you at all.
So again, it's the viewer who decides.
Yeah,
Who makes the story.
Who makes the story, absolutely.
Yeah. So to wrap up, Nadav, tell us when we should go to Foam in Amsterdam. When does the exhibition open?
The opening is the 17th, but I suppose it's from the 18th until February.
Okay.
Quite a long time.
Yeah. And there's a book coming with the show.
There's a book coming out that Thames and Hudson are publishing called The Edge of Things, same as the show. There's also a book on the Thames Estuary coming out by a publisher called Gost.
Yeah.
Lovely Stuart Smith.
Yeah.
And that is called Dark Line, the Thames Estuary. And I love that work. I really do. It's very introspective and interesting. And Nicole had a part in that when I was thinking of the format of those pictures. That's very upright, bodily shaped. She remembered Barnard's triptych, and Barnard was very referencing Asian art at the time, and the Asian art always are part of the Sanshui scroll, which is this upright scroll format. And that's how that became born. So Nicole's in it all.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're very welcome.
I prepared this conversation and I never looked at my preparation. I think that's a good thing.
Is it? Maybe. What have you got there? Have a look.
Anyway, I need to stop. Thank you. Thanks also to you, listener, for listening up to here, so we too can grow. And growth is essential for you too, and I want to support that. For example, by nourishing yourself with creative and entrepreneurial inspiration during our long sunny summer, I've created a podcast series which is called The Daily Frame, in which I will send you an audio clip of up to 15 minutes every workday for 4 weeks, providing you with tips and tricks on creativity, mindset, and business. You can listen to it from your beach chair or while you walk. That way you'll stay in your flow even during the summer and still have to enjoy other things, I think. The Daily Frame costs €10, so please don't let the price hold you back.